Good evening. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It is a wonderful, wonderful Monday night. I do want to appreciate or thank everybody, and I appreciate you for taking time out to join us. I know a lot of our PA folks are not tuning in tonight, but it's okay. It's okay. I won't hold that against you. You're going to tune in another time and catch the replay, and it's all good. Because there's that crazy thing called foosball. I think that's going on.
Foosball. Foosball.
Foosball. I think it's foosball.
Is that
I
is that
don't
what that's called?
I don't know. Cubbie, all I know is Cubbie was watching it last week when you weren't here.
Like,
He kept going. Like I'd ask him a question. But,
what?
what? Oh,
Oh,
sorry,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah, yeah. There was
sorry.
okay there. Yeah, be like, okay, Cubbie. Now, what? Hey,
But it's all
Mikey.
good.
Mikey's with us. Thank you for joining us this evening. So let's just jump into this tonight, Dan. I wanted to kind of talk about some things at this time of the year, and actually, Cubbie was the one who kind of brought up doing a few shows here in the next few weeks, talking about things to get ready for a better 2025 or things that should be done now uh, as we get it into the ready for the slow season, what have you. And it's like, well, let's talk about some things that we can do um, that get ourselves so we will have a better year next year. And when I say better, we're going to just leave that as a generic term because it's going to, I think, for different people, it's going to mean different things, and kind of dig into that. So basically, what I was kind of thinking is that we can kind of go bouncing back and forth and throw out, what kind of a thing, you would think is it would be a good thing to be looking at, and we'll just kind of go back and forth and such. We had some notes for those of you wondering. Yes, we did. I put some notes together here so we can kind of look at for ideas, and of course we're going to have some ideas that aren't in our notes. But really, I think it's going to be something that we'll jump back and forth with. So Dan, as we
Yeah.
sit here today, if we have someone who's like, I'm really getting into this. I'm like, I've been in this for a couple of years, but I really want to make next year my best year. Where should they start to get ready for a great 2025?
I think you need to start with a social media check.
Mm,
I think that needs to be where you begin looking at making next year better because it's one of those things. Like I can be a DJ and I can make myself the greatest DJ in the world, but if I don't let people know what I'm capable of, I'm never getting out of the house to play for them. Therefore, I'm never making the money. Therefore, it kind of really defeats a lot of the purpose outside of being a really nice hobby and maybe a stress reliever. So I think having your social media game and going through a checklist and prioritizing a way to make that um, efficient in your posting, productive in your posting, and meaningful in your posting becomes the beginning stages. I would say that's going to lead to some of those other things that are going to help.
and this is something we've actually touched base on in different shows over the last number of years, because this is kind of some of us, we still have a few shows left before the end of the season. And it's a great time to kind of look and see, okay, do I have footage from this year's events? Do I have pictures, content that I can be posting in social media? As Dan said, if you need to be ready and prepared and be ready to put things out there. But if you don't have the pictures, you still have a couple of opportunities to grab a few. And then we get into the cold months, at least in here in Minnesota, we do.
And even to the point of like I know some people they take 80,000 pictures and they decide they're going to post every single one on Sunday or Monday after the event and use them all. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but definitely I would look for a couple key ones that you're going to hold back um and do something with whether it's utilized in a better post later on or a standalone image that maybe you can make some graphics on when you have a little bit more time to kind of spend in that moment. But just kind of take what you have, and you don't have to have anything fancy. Like you can use your phone to be able to get some of those great shots, and then
Mm-hmm.
again, working them into some, use a Canva, use a template, something like that to kind of get that message that you're wanting to look the way you want it to. Well, again, when you have that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that that is. I'm going to grab something here. I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to put a link in the description below because Dan mentioned Canva and a couple of different things, and I believe this link still works. We're going to put this into the chat. This is Adobe has their Creative Suite, and you can go and spend a lot of money on it. They've also got the online thing that's not that expensive, and that has some great tools. If you follow a second link here, I'm sorry, and now I all of a sudden become Mr. Link Poster guy. This is actually a video where I'm demonstrating how it worked on a picture to remove the background, and it's really kind of a cool little thing you can add to your tools for preparing and making your thumbnails and making your putting some things together, cleaning up images, whatever. And again, as Dan said, this is a great time to do that. Let's for evaluating social media. I mean, there's just so many of them out there, and we're wondering, what do we spend time with? Has that really changed in that arena, or is it something that you still feel that we should be hitting 17 of them?
I definitely don't think you should be doing 17. And I'm kind of the philosophy, take a couple that you're going to focus on. Think about where your clients are, but more importantly, think about where they're searching, right? Like, so for example, I know a lot of people that use Snapchat. I don't know many people that use Snapchat to search out information. Now, they might post something and they might be looking for recommendations from people, but they're not going and just kind of searching random Snapchats to get information. Or if they are, I've not run into those clients. However, Instagram is still really, really huge when it comes to looking for potential vendors, like
Yeah,
looking for, with that and searching hashtags. And it used to be, all right, you'd want to do like 2 or 3 hashtags. Now you want to do like 15. Um, so there's different rules, I would say, that maybe have come about, or different ways to go about your posting. But I still think Instagram is going to be a key. Facebook is still there. People are still going to Facebook looking for recommendations from other people, and they're still looking for an easy way to find you. Um, I feel like those are the key component ones. Again, not saying you can't have success with the others, because I know somebody's going to go, well, I do TikTok and I've gotten 20 clients just this year from TikTok. I'm not saying you can't, but I don't think it's as effective in the general scheme as what using Instagram is. And I would say, and I hate to this, again, this is where some people are going to disagree. If you're only doing Facebook, you're missing out.
oh, for sure.
That is what I would definitely say. Like, if the only thing you've got is a Facebook page, you are missing out, because there's a lot of generation, especially mid 20s to say early 30s, who are not messing with Facebook at all.
Exactly.
They don't even have it.
They're getting to MySpace, and it's just incredible what they're doing with that.
I know, like they've gone backwards. It's retro.
It is.
It's
It is.
probably
It's
cool again. I mean, that we
just
did
like
hear it was coming back, so
just like
maybe
vinyl. It's retro kind of thing.
it is.
Um, One last thing with the social media, and then we'll go to the next one. Ironically, today I had a discussion with a prospect calling me, and we were talking, and they mentioned social media, and they were saying that they've talked to 3 DJs so far, and he had talked to 2, and then he went and checked out their social media, and then he bounced back as he checked out the owner's Facebook page, and he was turned off because the owner was basically on there sharing a lot of things that the potential prospect felt were against their political beliefs, for lack of a better way to describe it. By taking a strong stand on their personal page, they lost potential business by doing that, and that's a reality, I think, of what social media has become, or what it is that yes, you can, on your personal page, you can do what you want to do, but you also know that there's going to be repercussions for having a public personal page type of thing, and having it so that people are, sharing strong opinions. Is that somebody's going to see it and somebody's going to disagree, and then some people will agree, and maybe your perfect client would agree with you, and that's great if that's. But just to be aware, sometimes things we post can bite us in the butt.
Nothing is truly private.
No, not
That's the thing
anymore.
that you got to keep in mind.
Not anymore.
Like in that situation, the owner is probably sharing it out. But just be aware that I've seen screenshots of things that were supposed to be only among friends, but somebody who was a friend screenshotted it and shared it out, and now it didn't matter.
And you mentioned that was something that happened a number of years ago. Is there's a person in my market that um, just doesn't like me, and a friend of mine it was a friend of theirs, but I could never see because they had blocked me, and they screenshotted something that is like, hey, you should share this in your market because this is going to bury that DJ that didn't like me. and just exactly what you said. It was something that wasn't meant to be public, but yet there it was. Now, granted, I basically threw it away, and I don't even remember what it was. It was something inappropriate about a teacher or a school or something related to a school. But that's nothing's private.
Yeah.
Okay, so my kind of area I was really thinking of, and this is the kind of time of year I have playlists that I use for different cocktail situations, depending upon the age. I'm a huge fan of yacht rock, and I utilize that a lot. And I find that I've been spending the last few weeks kind of researching and going into Spotify as an example and listening to some of the yacht rock playlists and listening to some of the yacht rock channels here and there, whether it's Apple or iHeartRadio or what have you, to get basically to kind of freshen up that playlist a little bit. There's some songs that I've had in there for a while, and it's like, I think I can find something better that would maybe be a little more toe tapping, or maybe as I've listened to some of these songs, and it's like, that message of this song, Escape is a kind of a neat song, but really what it is about two people who are willing to cheat on each other. Great song. Love the what is it, Joe Jackson, the coffee shop version that Jackson. Anyway, there's a coffee shop version a guy did a few years back, and it was a coffee house version. Great version, but for a wedding, maybe it's not a great. The subject matter might be so. So this is a time to take some of those playlists that you utilize. And in my case, my yacht rock dinner has become 70s and yacht rock dinner has become kind of a signature thing where I have people who are like, yeah, I love what you're doing here, and I want to have get a card and such because you're just setting a tone that we absolutely love. Okay, so that's become kind of my signature thing for a lot of people, but I want to freshen it up. And this is kind of that time of year. Take that playlist, maybe to take your A type list songs, your bangers for the dance floor, and should I pull some out? Is there a couple that should be added to it? I think it's just a really good time in the next couple of months. Still, while I'm doing shows, is to refresh those playlists so that way come next summer, especially in my case, I'm off for a few months. So if I refresh them now, come next spring, I'm not going to be, it's like, oh, there was this great song that I was thinking I should put in this playlist, but I can't remember what it was.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Your thoughts, Dan?
No, I think taking advantage of the opportunity, and it gives you a chance to try out some of those songs that you're thinking about. If you can think about them now and then you try it and you go, okay, that really fit with that, and kind of going from there. I will say this, I've unintentionally found myself having to rebuild all of my folders and all of my playlists because I made the switch from PC to Mac. And while there may be a way, and probably is a way, to transfer all that stuff over, the songs all moved, but the lists all went away.
Mm.
And so I know I can bring up the old computer and physically recreate, but I just was like, you know what? I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to take this as an opportunity to go, you know what? I'm starting from scratch. I'm going to make this clean and make these a little bit more purposeful.
Sure.
And it exactly as what you said, like it's forced me to kind of go back and reevaluate. And it's actually been kind of fresh or kind of nice because it's been refreshing for me,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm not like hearing the same stuff I've heard 20 times.
And listening to, while running the Spotify wedding playlist, and Mike Walter's been one, and I've run into some other people, and I can't even tell you who they are, but it's their wedding playlist, very similar to what Mike has done. And just listening to other DJs doing wedding dances has been just a great, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, that's a song I wouldn't have played. But as I think about it, it has potential. And maybe it's only, part of the song that has potential, whatever. But to be able to add that little kind of change up and add something to freshen up, because that just helps to kind of get the juices flowing. And it's like, oh, wait, that could go in with that and could go, yeah, this is kind of neat. And I was able to freshen up a set or maybe make a song that I play out quite often feel different because I'm mixing into it and out of it with a different song. So studying. Yeah. Actually, that's one of my other ones too, but we'll get to that. Unless you jump to it first, but okay. What do you got next, Dan? What are you thinking?
I think it's a good idea to also take advantage of kind of rekindling with some of your vendors. Some of your key ones that have been the ones that over the years have routinely sent you business. And not that they're not doing it anymore, but you're just not running into each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about this because this past weekend I was working with a photographer that I haven't worked with for a couple of years. And part of it is because their preferred vendor at a local venue, and this local venue has a small set, and I wasn't included in their list.
Sure.
So I hadn't been there in a few years. And so our paths just were not crossing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, we got a chance to connect this weekend, and it was awesome. It was awesome to just kind of have a chance to just kind of talk. I mean, we caught up on life, and we caught up on, we didn't talk, hey, how's your business? Because no offense, I'm sorry, those are often very shallow conversations
Very
if you're
much so.
having
Yeah, I would
those with
agree.
other
Mm-hmm.
vendors. But we got to talk about life again and just reconnect as friends. And so I'm not saying you need to like suddenly go, oh, I got to figure out a way to work a wedding with them so I can have that conversation, but just kind of reach out and be like, you know what? We haven't run into each other in a while. How are you? How are you? How is your life going? Um, because again, it's one, business wise, it's going to put you back in their frame of mind. So it might be one of those things that goes, you know what? I haven't worked with them for a while. I need to change that.
Mm-hmm.
I need to make sure I move them up on the list. I've always really enjoyed working with them, and for whatever reason, we're not now. So I need to move them up on my preferred list. Um, or it just puts you in that human light again, and allows you to be a friend, not just a coworker or colleague for the day.
Yeah, just another person, another vendor
Yeah.
instead of that. No, that's a great great tip and a great spot. It's actually one of those areas that I don't do anymore, unfortunately. And it used to be something that we would do and do quite a bit of. We just don't do it. And now we're to the point where what's happens is that we'll play in a venue. They will see us, and they will, and then they recommend, and then you kind of go through that cycle. And so the venues that we were at 2 years ago, we're not at because we went through the cycle there, and now we're through the cycle here, and then it's there's isn't that consistency, and I think that's really, Dan, what you're saying. You'd put into work, you can have that consistency in many of those venues, and yeah, I'm in a series of barns this year, and next year I'll probably be in VFWs again or something. It's just kind of how things work back and forth.
Well, and with that, like, I don't think you have to. You'll hear some, and if you've ever either through seminars or I'm sure I know we've done in some of the videos here where people have talked about like the idea of gifts and different things like that to really put yourself top of mind. I think just a quick, I mean, I'm going to assume they have Facebook of some sort, a quick messenger, message that says, "Hey, haven't seen you in a while.
Mm-hmm.
How are you?" It's free. It doesn't take much time. And it gives you a chance to kind of catch up. And I think that again, that's helpful. That's helpful for you and might bring that cycle that John talked about back around. I mean, I 100% understand what you're doing or talking about. Like there's one venue that I'm at. One year I'm there 6, 7 times. Then I'm not the next year, or if I am, it's like once, and then the year after I'm back there again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the weird cycle that sometimes it goes through. Um, and this kind of maybe would help bring, depending on who it is, help bring some of this back around a little bit more.
So you mentioned, the asking, how they're doing and really diving into that. And this is a little bit of tangent on that, but this has been an area that my part-time during a day job is I work at a post office, for those of you who do not know. So I'm the postmaster there, and that means that when people are coming in, I talk to a lot of people during the day. And this is an area that in the last couple of weeks I've really been trying to pay attention to. And it's hey Fred, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. No, Fred, how are things? I mean, just really trying to slow down, stop, and make eye contact, and genuinely, how are you doing? I mean, if it's been, the weather's been miserable. I heard a tree went down in your yard, because I'm talking small town type of thing. So there's some things I hear, but the idea of being genuine and taking a minute makes such a huge difference. So can't emphasize that enough, is that just saying, oh yeah, it's great, and then just say, oh, wonderful, let's move on. Yeah. And then of course using their name too, hey Fred, it's good to see you, or how's Fred doing today? because people love to hear their name.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great stuff. Great.
What do you got next?
Time to we've been using our gear for weddings. We kind of have an idea of what we have, what works, what things have been sitting on a shelf for a long time, and I think it's time right now to focus on organizing our stuff, organizing our gear, and getting rid of stuff that we haven't used for 2 or 3 seasons that's just sitting there. And that might be some floodlights, it might be some really old floodlights, or in my case, I have some really nice LED PARs that I haven't used for 3 years. And I saw them yesterday, and it's like, why do I still have these? I am not. I bought them for a series of shows. We did those shows, and we have never gone back and we've never done those shows. I will never advertise for those types of shows. I will never want to do those types of shows again. But yet I have a dozen really nice LED. I think they're quad LED, but they're huge, big, bright, great lights. But they take up space, and they aren't doing me any good. This is, I think, a great time to make it so that I will be more organized for next year. That when I come back, my shelves aren't full of junk. My shelves can be full of this system. This is my main system I use. And then if I need to do a little, here's the addition for for a larger space, and over here is maybe some of my whatevers. But everything would be much more organized, which would make me much more efficient. And it's going to take a lot of stress off, because there's those times where it's like, okay, I need to make sure I get everything loaded and everything's going to be put in the truck. It's like, okay, I got to take a couple of things from over here. Well, there's all those lights I don't use anymore, so I'll put that. And I got to grab a couple of things. Oh, there's all of my props I haven't. Have I used my inflatable snowman suit for? No, I haven't used that in 15 years. Okay, let's go over here. Okay, I need these 2 things, but aluminum foil. Why do I have 75 rolls of aluminum? Oh yeah, I used to use that back 20 years ago, and I don't use it anymore. So get rid of stuff, kind of clean house a little bit, and then get organized to have a much better 2025. Now,
Now,
Dan,
I have a thought.
you're gonna probably
I have
say
a
that you're completely organized, and that was just right.
I'm looking over at my shelf right now going, yeah, like that shelf is organized, that one's organized, and that one looks like a hurricane hit it. Um, no, I get it, especially when you're talking about the small things. Like I have a bunch of like small nuanced pieces of gears, or small nuanced like cables and stuff that are very specific situations. And it's been frustrating to kind of go, okay, I know I have this, I know it's got to be on this shelf or this shelf, and where's it going to be? The question I have to you is, you know, why would you want to do that? Like, we're in the thick of wedding season, right? Like, so why would it be beneficial to do that now versus, let's say, January, when like you're not doing holiday parties, wedding season's not happening, and in theory you should have more time for organization. I have a thought behind it, but I'm curious
Yeah.
your idea.
So there's the big reason is that I'm using things, and I can't play the game of telling myself, well, maybe I'll use it I'll maybe use it, this upcoming wedding season. No, I'm about 3/4, 80% through our wedding season. And if I haven't used it by now, I'm not going to use it. And I'm not going to use it next year, but I can't play the game because I didn't use it last week. That's part of it. Second part is that there are still wedding DJs out there doing weddings, and there's people who are, having friends do it, and there's still gear being sold on Marketplace. So there's a chance to sell it before we get into, in our case, November, when everything shuts down. And yes, some people still have money, but a lot of DJs, they're like, okay, so now I need to have X number of dollars to budget to make it through till March and go. So that's really, one of them is my own game, my own mental game of not being able to talk myself. Because if I wait till January and February, it'll be like, I'm going to put a package together, and it's going to have these great big lights. There's going to be these LED lights, and they're going to be shining from every angle. And I'm going to look like a rock star, and I'm going to be beautiful, and people are going to love me. And I'll, this is the kind of stuff I'll tell myself, and I will convince myself that those were the best investment I ever had, and they're about ready to just turn a huge profit. And then they sit on the shelf for another season. Hi, my name is John. I have a problem with gear. But anyway.
But selling was my thought behind it. Like right now you have potentially a chance to put it out there, and somebody may go, that'd be a great idea for me to pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
And when they have that money versus that down season where they might not be looking, or again, January, like, oh, is NAMM's going to be coming? Is somebody going to drop something? And then the idea of, well, I'll buy that whenever that comes out
Mm-hmm.
versus some used piece that I might. So
See, that becomes dangerous because then there's like, okay, wow, did you see that this company announced a brand new controller for running DMX lights? And I've got these 12 incredible DMX lights that are bright LED bars. If I get that DMX controller, I can control those lights and make a really great light show. So then I would not only have the 12 lights that are sitting on a shelf, but now I'll have the controller to run those 12 lights sitting on a shelf. Like, hi, my name is John. I've got a problem with gear. All right, Dan, what's your next one?
I would say this is kind of a twofold, but I would say take some opportunities to practice some of your things that are potentially trying some new ideas. Um, I've heard a lot of people talking about the concept of mixing during cocktails and mixing during dinner. And a lot of times I feel like I've got, depending upon what's going on, a bit too much to maybe sit there and actually mix it.
Mm-hmm.
However, if I take an opportunity to mix it here at my house and then play it back, I reap the benefits, at least some of them, of having a mixed cocktail list ready to go, or having a mixed dinner set ready to go, and still being able to do the different things that I need to do. Now, you don't have the on the live being able to go, oh, they're reacting to that. Let me go in that direction. But oftentimes, at least in cocktails and dinner, my set is, at least my style is somewhat decided. Like it's a conversation I have with the couples. Like, what do you want to, like, where do we want to go? What are we going for vibe wise? So my vibe is kind of decided for me. So it gives me an opportunity to practice with styles that maybe I'm not as familiar mixing, and gives me a chance to try some things, all while maybe creating a new opportunity for myself with the idea of mixing during cocktails and dinner.
Sure.
So I would give that a shot, because again, you don't really have much to lose. Worst case scenario, if it totally flops or you can't make it work for that week, you do what you did before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a, in my viewpoint, it's a no lose in there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that would be a great idea. Um, and I think there's different DJs do different things during that cocktail time. Where there's some that are, I've met some that are doing a lot of announcing and games and activities, and it's like I've helped Bill Herman, and that cocktail time there's almost constantly something going on, and to be trying to actually mix. I think the most again I was assisting him. You know, most of the time during that time, it was pull the volume down, and the volume goes back up. The volume down, they talk to the volume back up. So it is. I don't think everyone, as they're like, hey, I'd never do that. Well, you may not, but there's for some people, this would be a great way. And I think the idea, as you say, kind of talking to the couple and having a theme or having a what kind of a genre they want you to work from is a fabulous idea. Is this past weekend, that's exactly what Michael had. Is they had a specific feeling they wanted to have during that cocktail time, and that meant a specific type of music, which we did put that list together in advance because trying to find things and people are coming up to you and doing this and that doesn't work that well. In 3 weeks, we have another wedding where they want a very, very specific type of dinner music type, and I hadn't even heard of it before. Polka. Have you ever heard of a polka? I no. But anyway, they've got something specific they want, and it was a conversation. Now, with what they wanted, a person could do some playing and practice and do some of that if I so choose. Unfortunately, for that particular stuff, I don't even know if there's a beat to it. It was more of it almost felt more like an outdoor nature type scene music that you'd have anyway.
Mm-hmm. But you can do some stuff with that. So I had a couple, like they decided they wanted, and they actually told me they wanted cocktails mixed.
Mm-hmm.
And at the location of where the cocktail hour was going to be, like it was not conducive for me to go, okay, well, I'll just mix. Like I couldn't take a system. I potentially probably could have, but it would have been a lot of extra work to set up an extra system just so that I could what I was doing. So I created that in advance, playing Bridgerton style music.
Mm.
So current hits violin version, no beat, like no bass beat, no
Yep. Yep.
drum
Yep.
beat, nothing to use. you learn a few things about yourself when you do that
Yeah.
for a couple of hours. But it challenged me to try some things, and it challenged me to kind of really go, okay, this is different. The response was favorable, and the couple was extremely happy.
Hmm.
So it was like, okay, I got some work to do to make it happen, you know, more frequently, but it was a good start for sure.
For sure. Yeah, that would be a little bit tough without a beat, and not impossible,
Yeah,
but it's definitely
but
not what we're used to.
yeah,
Yeah, line those beats up and let's go. Yeah. Okay, so my next one. I think the I think for a person to be really productive in what you're doing, that a person needs to have kind of a semi-consistent schedule. That okay, these are the days that I'm in the office. These are the hours that I'm in the office. These are the hours that I'm going to be working on the business. And along with that is time management of being able to realize that I have to dedicate my time here, and I can't be, if I'm going to be present and working on my business here, I can't be scrolling the latest YouTube videos that aren't related to what I'm doing. I can't be trying to do something, fixing websites, or maybe I dedicate in my schedule. I have 1 hour of where I'm going to go and update my social media on Tuesday mornings, and I get there and all of a sudden I see a post and then I start following posts, and 2 hours later, things like that becomes poor time management. And I think that's something that a person needs to strive for, is that to establish a consistent schedule of when you're going to be doing those Facebook posts. When am I going to be looking at the content that I shot last weekend and getting it edited and ready for use? Is that a Monday afternoon thing that I'm going to take an hour to do that? But to get this schedule and put it together in a way that works for you, your business, and your family. Because Dan has talked about this a little bit, is that with his teaching schedule and then with the kids at home, he's got to work around these things to be able to do what he does. And once you figure out what works in the best for everyone involved, then that working schedule and your time management can really be a benefit to helping you be more successful as you go forward with that.
definitely, definitely. So my next one comes into play of evaluating your past clients from the year. So this originally I was like, you know what, the idea of soliciting reviews. If you haven't been keeping up on collecting reviews, I think it's important because I think that this kind of goes in twofold to the same idea. So I'll go the review part first. If you haven't been asking for reviews from your clients, flat out just ask them. Majority of your couples have no problem writing a sentence or two. Some will be really awesome and give you like a paragraph, but if they give you some feedback, that's what you're looking for, and you're looking for the feedback that is more than he rocked our dance floor,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what's going to be on 90% of the reviews that you check out there. You want that personalized piece that's going to come into play. Um, but that's also going to help you define what your message really is going forward. Like, you can talk about yourself all you want all day long. This is an Alan Berg point, right? You can talk about yourself all day long, but if you get a client that talks about you in a certain way, that's gold,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's who you really are, right? You can say I'm the best, most awesome mixer that's out there, and if they go, he played the songs I liked, well, then guess what?
You're
You played
mixing.
the songs they like,
Yeah.
not an awesome mixer, right? So using that. But the other part to that kind of is, evaluating both with their reviews and I want to say almost like the feeling that you got off of it, the response you got off of it, the um positive vibes that went with it. Is that the type of client that you had this year, the one that you want to have next year?
Sure. That makes sense.
because because you may have had this, perfect client that had in your mind, but just like our businesses evolve and change and go through tweaks and stuff like that, so does our perfect client. So, I doubt you're marketing to the same client that you were 10 years ago, right? It might still have some of the similarities, right? There might be some things that are the same, but you can't just say, well, I'm going to the high end client. Like that high end client has changed,
Mm-hmm.
whoever
Very
that might
much
be.
so.
So evaluating your clients will kind of lead you to that. Am I doing the right thing? Am I getting the right message? Is that my ideal client? And what do I have to do to make sure that my message and their message are the same? I think that's great. And I think it's important to do this now rather than waiting till the season's completely ending,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm starting to find that couples, and maybe this is just locally, I'm getting a lot of inquiries coming in the fall. It
Mm.
used to be booking season was, November, December, January. And in at least where I'm at here in September and October, well, we're not into October yet. So the end of August and now in September, I'm getting a lot of some of these inquiries coming in. So I think it's just one of those things where you can't wait. You need to do that evaluation now to make sure those messages all line up and the clients are who you want them to be.
Okay. While you were talking about that thing, they jumped into it and talked specifically about the client reviews. I'm going to jump back to that one.
Hmm.
Is is I think this would be a great time to kind of put together a formal way of requesting, as you're talking about, getting that more of a in-depth answer. Literally, going as far as saying, hey, putting together a game plan, a flow chart, whatever you want to call it. Is that okay? The wedding ends, and I'm going to send them an email and thanking them for the day and asking them to do that, and maybe have a couple of bullet points of how to. If I don't get anything back, maybe then 10 days out, I go, hey, I just wanted to, would you guys mind giving me but having a formal process that asks for the information that will be beneficial to you. And if they don't, you should remind them a couple of times without harping on them. But I think that having a formal process, it will fit back into the working schedule and your time management and all those parts. You put them all together, and it could be really benefit, as opposed to, it's like, I should probably send an email out to all of my clients for this summer because I haven't, and ask for a review. Hey, can you review me? Send. You know, Probably not. Not your. That's We've all done it, and we probably will do it again. But for having a better 20 for 25, there's probably better ways to do it.
I, when you're doing this, that I think DJP has a great option to be able to do it. Obviously, you can schedule an email to go out. Um, I will say this: I've gotten really good responses from setting it up to where I send an email. I don't use the pre-planned sender because I want to put a line that is personalized to something from their event, something that I remembered from their event, something that stood out, something that's going to make them think of the night and me all in an extremely favorable light.
Mm-hmm.
Not just they had a good time, but an extremely favorable light. So I'm going to pull something out. You know what? That when you had that first dance and the two of you came together, and at the very end you dipped it, like that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like and just like that compliment. You're not being fake. You're finding something in the night to pull out. And when you do that, one, now they think the entire email that you just sent is completely like legit, and you sent it to just them that way, when really it's like one paragraph. But it also gives them a way to do that. And again, I've had a lot more success with that. I'm not a big proponent, like John, I'm going to disagree with you on this. I feel if I send it once and they don't respond, I'm only doing it one more time, and that time that I'm going to do it is going to be probably right about now, because and I'm going to play the guys of the knot and the wedding wire when they're getting their year-end rewards and the cutoff is coming up, and if I don't have quite the numbers that I need to have to meet their reward status, I'll throw out one more. Hey, by the way, if you didn't get a chance to do it, or if you missed my email earlier in the year, things get busy. I understand. I've got an award opportunity coming up. If you wouldn't mind dropping me a line, change what it is. You're not begging. You're not saying, hey, I asked you, but you didn't do it. It's just because so much time has passed, you can go, I bet you were busy. I bet you things happen. You may not even have gotten the email, but if you wouldn't mind, this could really help me out. And a lot of times that second kick in that light, because there is a reason why you're asking again, will catch a lot of.
Very possible. I think there's going to be a lot of different ways that is going to be dependent upon the type of person you are. I think some
Yeah.
people are going to be working with people who wouldn't mind the literally weekly reminder for a month, and some people that you know shortly after, a month later, and maybe a month after that, and then that would be it. You'd never, if you don't have it by then, maybe a year later, whatever. I doubt it. But you have to understand, going back to evaluating your your past clients, and understanding who you're working for, and what would help with that process. So, okay, I think it's I think speaking, public speaking, and the MC, the MC work we do, I think is one of those areas that I think everyone can improve on, everyone can work on. And I think this is a great time to be thinking about it a little bit, because there's opportunities, especially as we're studying other DJs and they're performing. And I'm going to go back to Mike Walter. I just feel like I beat him over the head with his listening to it. But you get to listen to, on some of these Mixcloud things, you can actually hear the DJs talking. And Mike's a great example of that. Is he's sometimes hyping the crowd, sometimes he's making announcements over music, but you can hear how he does it. Not saying what he does is perfect, not saying what he does is what everyone should do by any means, but the idea that you can study different styles out there and to be able to develop and then improve on what you're doing. And part of that improvement can be just as simple as working on it on a regular basis, putting that time into it. And maybe that time, that half an hour a week or half an hour every 2 days, whatever it is, 15 minutes 4 times a week, I don't know, whatever it is. But you've got this situation where you are putting into this time where you're going to be working on your vocal skills and some practicing. Maybe it's just reading out loud. You're taking out a children's book. We've talked about Dr. Seuss books, which are great tongue twisters. But maybe you're taking something like that out and you're reading it in front of a camera, so you can see your facial expressions as you're trying to pronounce difficult words, where your eyes are going, what's going on. Are you reading and then you're up and whatever? It's one of those situations where you can practice, you can develop, increase that skill, practice that skill. And while you're thinking about it at this time of the year, you still have a couple of weddings to be able to maybe try a couple of things. So it always stinks when you learn a new skill in January and your first wedding isn't until April. You've already forgotten that skill 5 times over. But if I'm starting to go and kind of pick up a couple of things, it's like, maybe this is something I could kind of play with a little bit at a show. Maybe the prompting them just before they should be singing that part of the song. I could be doing that. There's so many little aspects of it that I think that having that as one of the things to improve, and the goal to improve your speaking and your MC skills for 2025 is a legitimate area.
And of course, to be clear, you're not deciding to be completely different and try something at somebody's wedding. You're practicing a little bit at home and making sure you're ready, but you're trying something that's not going to be a make or break situation for somebody's, once in a lifetime event.
Oh,
So
for sure. Yes. You're not going to be going in cold and trying something that's majorly different. It's the little things.
yeah.
Little things. And as you've practiced and become more confident and you see where these things work, then you add something, maybe add something else. Maybe you throw that out and try something different. Who knows? Okay, we have 2 left, Dan. What do you
Okay.
got?
So we could talk on this probably for another hour and not hit even half the things that we could do for 2025 to make it better. But I would say, you know, learn right now, or pick right now what is going to be your non-negotiables when you have the opportunity to have them be non-negotiables, right? If I'm talking about next fall and I'm looking at a wedding coming in and it's for a venue that I'm not so hot about, I'm okay saying I'm not available right now. Or, you know what? They wanted me to drive an hour and a half or 2 hours away. And you know what? Right now, I don't think I want to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Now, if that same date is still open in May, when I'm, looking for the fall, okay, now I'll be a little more willing to do that. So it's the ability to say no. It's the ability
Mm-hmm.
to have that power, harness that ability to go right now. This can be a no, right? Like I might be okay with it later, but for now, I'm going to allow it to be a no. And that has been something that has been so difficult for me to learn on certain things, because I know falls are going to be busy for me. It's just the time of season that it is. And I'll get somebody that'll hit me up for a backyard tent wedding, and we all know how much everybody loves those. Um, and I'll try and sell them on booking me, knowing full well that they're going to do it, and a month later somebody's going to hit me up for one of the venues that I really enjoy being at. But because I didn't learn to say no, I kind of now stuck, for
Mm-hmm.
lack of better terms, because I agreed to it ahead of time. So those are the things that I would keep in mind. Those are the things that I would say is learn to say no. Now is an opportunity that you can say no. And if they're truly non-negotiables and never change, then you really got to say no. But if there's stuff that you can be flexible on now, use it now, and later be flexible if you need to, and figure out where that line is when it is, or when that line is, I should say.
Dan, I think so far that's probably been, as you're talking about that ability to say no. I think it should almost be like at the top. I mean, really to keep one's mental health, family relationships, and there's so many aspects of it where we don't say no, and it ends up, yeah, good, great tip, great tip there. Yeah, learning the ability to say no, but non-negotiable sounds like it's more professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And again, there are times where it will be a no no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
and there are times where it's a no for now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that typically that no for now happens when you're talking to them in that kind of pre-sales meeting, and you're like, so can you tell me a little bit about the type of the music you like? And they're listing off artists, and you're like, okay, Danny, Dan, did you have something you wanted to say? And we were talking music, and you get to a point in their music, and you're like, well, I don't think we're going to be able to work together because you just aren't into classic Americana music from the San Francisco Bay. Now, if you'd have said Huey Lewis, now we're talking, and now it becomes a yes. But until that, it's non-negotiable. Sorry. Next.
By the way, for our new viewers, that is a drinking game that MJ and I started a long time ago. And one of those is when he says the certain band, you need to take a drink. Now, keep in
Yeah,
mind, we're doing water,
yeah,
but it's still a drink.
it was still something. Okay, so the last one, there was a couple of them. One of them I think that would be fun to hit, and this is actually we could probably do a whole show on it. Is talking about personal health and putting the time in and working on that. For those of you who don't, if you don't follow Dan and I, we both have really gotten into going out and running on a consistent basis, jogging, whatever. But basically, doing some things like that. So that would fit in here for personal health, but I don't want to go there. I want to go to budgeting. And I think this is an area to understand where the dollars are coming in. We know what kind of dollars you've got coming in, where the dollars have to go out because that's part of running your business, where the dollars should go because that should be your payroll to pay yourself, so you're making money as a business, and where the dollars need to go to be able to buy new equipment, to replace things as they break down, to get a new vehicle, whatever. But I think budgeting and understanding where the money is coming from and what comes in, what goes out, and how to make it so that there's more that comes in than goes out is huge. And too many of us, basically, we have money that comes in for our DJ business. We have money that goes out of our DJ business, but that money going out isn't enough to cover it. So then we have to go over here to our side job, and I'm over here at McDonald's flipping burgers, and some of that money goes out on my DJ business, where I'm basically supplementing, and that's not a healthy way to run a household, not a healthy way to run a business, and certainly not a satisfying way to run your life. So I think budgeting is an area of very importance to be able to know where those things are.
And it also helps you. It also helps you, especially, and I would say this is like key, especially for those of you who are watching this and you're like just kind of getting started, and you're finding a market that seems super saturated with prices that are right about where you're at. And so you get the inkling of going, well, if I cut it by $100, now I'm going to be under people. And you're not doing it to be mean, but you're like, I need to get the money that's coming in. But what you don't recognize is that when you cut that $100, now you went from making a $20 profit to an $80 deficit.
Mm-hmm.
and it suddenly makes a difference. And if you budget that to know all of those pieces, where all those missing pieces are going to and coming from, you have the ability to go, no, not only can I not cut, I really, to logistically make this be successful, need to increase to here. And that becomes, and we've done money shows on that, and you can back and you do quick searches and find them, to be able to learn to kind of set that up in that right way, because that's going to help you. It's going to give you a better peace of mind, and it's going to make it so you're not flipping burgers, so you can, you know, to go out and play for people on the weekends.
And nothing wrong with flipping burgers or doing a side
No.
job. For a lot of us, we have gone that route because of where we are in our careers. That's great. But I think the yeah, just knowing where things are, because we too often are just flying by the seat of our pants and saying, "Yep, look at there, the checkbook's great. Look at all that money I've got." Yeah, that's today. That's maybe not. So a little story about this. Last night, the boys and I, and for those of you who don't follow, Michael, he DJs, and some of you have met him and have seen him at different shows or what have you. He's my I DJ. I can do an event by myself. He can do an event by himself, and then he takes one of my younger sons with to run his light show, and I've been taking my other younger son with to run a light show for me and be an assistant. So last night we actually sat down and we started talking about 2025, and we're talking specifically rates for 2025, what packages or how we wanted to be kind of looking at this. I wanted to get the thoughts from their side of it, because we've never really talked about that stuff with them completely. And you're talking a freshman in high school, a sophomore in high school, and then Michael is 22, 23, somewhere in that ballpark. And it was very interesting, Dan, is all the money shows we've done, and we've talked about a la carte pricing, we've talked about package pricing, we've talked about the number of packages to have, all these different things that we've done. I heard all of that last night in about an hour's worth of conversation with the guys, and they were back and forth and debating and talking about. It's like, I know they don't listen to our shows, because who in middle school wants to listen to a bunch of old guys? But it was like there was the same discussions and the same things back and forth with that. So it was kind of neat to experience. But I think the idea that you were talking about, that if I reduce the price and then maybe I can sell some more, and that was pretty much one of the discussions the boys were having. And one of them was, well, what happens if we go to here, this price point, and we sell 10 of them? And the other one was like, yeah, but if you're only making $20 per those 10 events, and then you're selling one event for twice that, you've made a lot more money per. And it's like, it was very interesting to hear those thoughts and such coming from youngsters who haven't played in that arena before. So yeah, good stuff.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it when it just kind of comes together for a lot of them too.
That it does. Now we'll just have to turn it into see if we can figure out how to make it all work. Okay, so I'm putting a link into the chat. It was shared up above there. Robin shared it. The chat room is going to be open, djntv.com/chill. You guys can pop out there, and they'll be doing a recording, kind of a group discussion here for a little while, and then after that, it's an open hall and an open room. It's a Zoom room, so you can join it from cell phones and tablets or computers, whatever you've got. Just if you're not interested in being part of that recorded conversation, just keep your camera and microphone off, and you can listen to it, and then join the hallway banter later. Some great folks are in there every Monday and Tuesday night. Tonight is kind of a general chat. Tomorrow night is the music chat that they get really dig into some music in ways that most DJs will probably never go that deep, but it's really fun to learn some new things every week as they go through and talk about things. So yeah, I think that's it. Take us home, Dan.
So, well, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And here's the thing, like I said earlier, there's so many different ways that you can go about making 2025 the greatest ever, but there's only one thing that you have to do, is start somewhere, get started on it so that you can have that year. But we do appreciate everybody for taking their time out to join us. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.